What the fuck? ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ.
Happy Christmas, chatas.
You can decrease. You can decrease little bit.
Shit, dude, I can fix my eyebrows and shit.
Rudolph
Fuck, insane.
That's fine.
I can change my lip color. Look at that.
I just did that.
Cling, 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 cling.
Yes. What's up, guys? Welcome to a new episode of this podcast. And today we are here with the guys from Project Mishram. Hello, 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 hello.
Hello.
Sir.
Hello.
Hello?
Shit, he's recording a tester.
If I didn't do
Yanage?
the intro, we would never start. So
Yeah, it's on, man.
yeah. So okay. So we are here today with the guys from Project Mishram to talk about all things music, all things corporate stuff, and all things business. As usual.
Business. Amount ಹೇಳಮ್ಮ ನೀನು ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಬಿಡು, ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಹೇಳು.
Your payment. Okay.
Business.
We'll come to that after the discussion. Let me enable super chat, which is 0. Okay. So I wanted to do this podcast with you guys to discuss how you guys are a cliche.
What?
So,
Actually, we are more like escapees from Nimmans, but okay.
that yeah.
Cliche
Oh,
ಹೆಂಗೋ
that is,
ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ.
for some
Yeah.
of you, that is exactly the case. So just to I called so cliche in the sense, I mean, a lot of bands in the city or at least in the country are working in some sort of a corporate job, and you guys are exactly that cliche, and that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you guys because for one, I've worked with you guys very closely over the past few years, and
ASMR is coming.
no, please don't. And secondly, because as I've known you guys over the past few years, we've become friends, and you guys are not. We're surprised that the client stage, and you have
Are
become
you sure
friends.
about that?
I
Are you
mean,
sure?
I mean, I just tell that to make you guys feel comfortable, so that you pay me more next time.
Reverse biscuit.
Oh.
So I'll just introduce everyone on my. I don't know which side this is. Okay. There's Sri Shankar Sundar, there is Ram Srinivas, there's Sumant Namani, and there is Shivraj Natraj. So please introduce yourselves one by one, and please tell me your duties in the band and duties otherwise.
Hey, I'm Sri Shankar. I play the guitar for Project Mishram. I guess.
And your
What makes
duties
you real
otherwise.
money, da? What makes you the money? Not music, ma, but
Duties in the band and duties otherwise. So
Oh, duties otherwise. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So I work at a data science company called Musicma.
Okay, Ram.
My name is Ram Srinivas. I play bass guitar for Project Mishram. For some reason, this amuses Sumant Nemani a lot. And outside of that, I work as a software developer at SAP, which is a German software company.
And
No, that's all.
ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ರೇಂಜ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಫುಟ್ಬಾಲ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ.
okay.
Hey guys, my name is Sumant Nemani. I play guitar for Project Mishram. I am also a project manager at Cisco. I work for their supply chain division. We basically do a lot of helmet work, according to the rest of the band, but not at all. Yeah. Thanks for having us here, Tejas. Like it's a big honor, you know. if
Thank you
think
guys
about
for
it.
doing
Yeah.
this. No payment will be attached to this.
Amount ilva.
Okay, Shivraj,
Yeah.
why do you keep muting yourself?
Hey guys, my name is Shivraj. Shivraj Natraj is my full name, and I am the beatboxer, vocalist, and kind of manager for the band. And also, with respect to corporate sector, I am in a company called Stellium, which implements SAP softwares for a lot of clients globally. And currently, I'm working with a client in Dubai called Al Dahra, and we are implementing SAP TM there. So yeah, my weekends are Friday and Saturday. This is too much information. Thank you.
No one wanted to know most of that, but
But aren't you an ASMR artist on the side, da, which you're kind of portraying today?
Yeah, budding ASMR artist.
thank you for that. All right, so let's get into what we are here for today. So you guys have told about what you guys do in your own jobs, and so how do you guys firstly manage your time being in a band that has done international tours, has done national shows?
Good that you paused.
It is inside the nation. Fine.
That's what. But no, I mean, as of now, you have done any tour in India. Weirdly, I've done an international tour, but not an India tour. But yeah, that's level.
Weird is the new cool, bro. Okay.
Yeah. So, how do you guys manage time for your own jobs and the music that you make? Because the music that you make is not simple in any form, so it requires a lot of time. So, how do you guys do that? Whoever wants to answer can.
I guess we can all take a shot. So
Short turn.
yeah, go for it, Shanky.
Okay, I mean, to answer it from my behalf, there's actually no prototype, or there is no method that I follow in order to manage time. The nature of my job is that I have these phases where it's extremely heavy, and then some phases where it's relatively lighter, right? So it's just a question of taking it day by day. To me, there's no I don't see any point in trying to delegate exactly X time for this, Y time for that, and then try to follow it. Because again, the workload, just like with the job, the workload of the band also obviously changes a lot, and the nature of the work you do for the band also changes a lot over time, across time. So I mean, to the short
So,
answer
at different
is
stages, you have
giving it-
different amount of time that you're putting in for the band, depending on what stage of the album cycle or whatever you're in.
Exactly. Yeah,
You're,
that's very well put. Yeah, short answer is I basically wing it the whole time. I think
That's a
that would
good
be
way.
that would be the
That's how everyone lives their
easiest
lives.
way I would describe. Yeah.
We're all just a bunch of daredevils. Okay. Anyone else wants to just give their, or if there is there something different that you guys do?
I think everyone wings it, to be fair, except Sumat. But yeah.
No,
Sumant,
no. I mean, I was actually going to say a very similar answer to Sri Shankar Shanky's. It's like, as cliche as it sounds, like if you really want to do it, it doesn't feel like so much work, especially when I'm pulling all-nighters with the band. Because many times when we're writing, we're staying up late. It's very weird. Our songwriting process itself, we are very slow, but we are very fast when we are doing it. But when we're not, we're just like doing nothing for a long time.
sure.
Yeah, and the rest of it, I think it's never been like a challenging thing managing time, because it's not like you're not enjoying doing the band part of it. So most of us have been able to strike that balance of building either an understanding or just being cut off from our office world. Like Shanky most days has to just take off straight up. Many of us can work around timing flexibles and stuff. Yeah, since we work for corporate jobs, the new age corporate Kool-Aid is that it's flexible, bro. I mean, you got to be able to do both. All that shit we take advantage of, I guess. So,
and especially nowadays, I don't think that you don't have to really. You're not going.
You're not clocking in hours as such.
So you're working at home, so it's
absolutely.
So as long as there are meeting times and all of that, and I think it's a lot more flexible in that way.
And another thing is, we don't have any, as of now, we don't have any fixed timelines or, points that give us the points in time that give us a pressure to complete it by then. So we are not uncomfortable, writing the song by so and so time. We need to complete it by then. It's not like that. So that way, it makes it, mentally pretty easy to come up with music at our own pace. So the pace keeps changing with respect to writing music based on all of our combined work times, except Pranav. Okay, so he's never there in the writing process. So he's in his own world, but everyone else, I think, it's fine. It's not been a challenge until now. Let's see. Yeah.
Ultimately, in some form, it functions as an escape, doesn't it, from the routine of daily life and everything. And considering we're in these kind of jobs, like 80% of our day is just that. So as long as everyone wants to get away from it, they will. and
Yeah, I mean,
we do. So
when
just-
you say escape, it's in the good way, not like
oh yeah, no, definitely
So-
a good kind of escape. So
it's just like almost like a break and not like an escape.
yeah, hence it happens naturally.
Yeah. And
For
you
me-
guys, from what I understand, I think all of you guys love your other jobs. I mean, your
Not me,
jobs.
dude. Not me. I'm doing it for
Thank you
money.
for clarifying.
Whole purpose is money.
You're still employed. You're still employed, by the way.
That's fine. I don't care. I put my papers already. Okay. So I'm
Okay,
I'm over getting
Got
into
specifically not safe for work. Especially
keep a
for
lawyer
sugar.
ready.
that's
Yeah.
the point. Okay.
Let
See, but
me
we should be
edit that.
truthful to the listeners. No, it's all individual opinions. Three of them enjoy their job, so you take majority. But I
Thank you
hate
for-
my job. I mean, it's interesting, but I want to do music, so it's a big escape from job. I genuinely look forward to sessions with the band and making music.
Thank you for being overtly candid. Okay.
No, because otherwise he's extremely diligent towards his work. He's
Correct,
always
correct,
on time. Like he doesn't miss meetings.
Mhm.
He's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
at work most of the time, so
Yeah.
has to be called out.
At
Right.
work when needed.
I
Smart.
don't know how you said that with almost a straight face, but okay.
Any-
Okay, and like, so you guys know other bands in the city, and you've played along with them also quite a few times since the time you started, since college and all of that. So, how do you think you guys actually instead? What do you guys think you guys are doing differently than the other bands to actually put out more material? I think you guys put out a lot of every year. Like you guys have been putting out singles, and then this year you've been you released an album. So, do you guys think you're doing something different than the other bands to actually like put out that much material out, and also in the quality that you're putting it out in?
Man, if I had to say something, I would actually differ from your opinion. I thought we were shit slow. Like
Yeah.
we were very, very non-prolific, non-good at this. Like only recently, I think our social media game and all that has also picked up. But otherwise, I thought we were a very slow band. Like Sanat
No, I'm not talking about
would
the
always-
social media, but at least
No,
there were.
like
there was
I think the
I-
songwriting content itself, like the number of songs we release, Sanat would always go on our Spotify and be like, "Bari 4 lakh song ide, no band illa types." You know,
I
like
don't think the scroll bar comes in.
exactly.
yeah. I'm not saying that it's the ideal way to do it, or it's like the best way to approach it, like releasing singles. I think every year or two did you release singles?
Every year, 1 a year. Always.
So that's still,
Consistent that way.
that's still okay. I was going to say, I was thinking it was 2 years, and then I realized, oh shit, why did I ask that question? Because then that question didn't make any sense.
Yeah, but
So,
yeah,
but
how-
every year still, like, bands are still not that frequent with their releases. So I would say like single a year, it's fine, like at least. And for the span of your song and for the amount of stuff you put in your song, it could be justified, but yeah, maybe not also. Some people might argue with that, but it's fine.
Your question is, what are we doing?
What
is unique?
what do you, or if you think you're doing
How?
something different to kind of bring out that much material and release that much material out, and
So, no, one thing is, of course, the content itself is very different from a lot of bands. But another thing that I observed is that, we work completely online for at least 60-70% of the writing process for our newly released album called Miso, which is available on all streaming platforms, guys. But yeah, jokes apart, no, that's
Is it
not
in
a
Meso?
joke. Meso, whatever. Yeah.
represent.
MESO.
Oh.
Wait. So yeah, I think 60-70% of it was all of us writing it online. Like we didn't meet for like 6-7 months, and we still came out with 60-70% of it. The rest of it was written in bits and pieces before, and having the confidence to actually roll it out as something so for listeners to consume, enjoying it ourselves, and learning to play it live only after, I think, or close to its release.
That's an embarrassing
that's-
reality, but yeah.
It's still a very different thing, I guess, compared to other bands. So
I don't think every band, at least over here and even internationally, I don't think a lot of bands prepare their stuff
Online,
live.
yeah.
No,
Fair enough.
for their
Oh.
live shows. I don't think they prepare it well beforehand and all of that. So
Ah,
I think
Okay.
it's kind of normal.
Similar.
But yeah,
okay.
but yeah, there's nothing wrong in preparing it
Yeah.
beforehand. But yeah, it's fine.
And I also think that we like to let our songs breathe, so to speak, especially with like Cynic and Tamasat. They were the only pieces of music we put out that year, but we were not working towards a timeline. Again, going back to what Shivraj was saying, so it's like we let Cynic breathe until it had everything it wanted to say, and then we let it out of the gate. Right?
Yeah, and
So-
another thing is, I think what I think is a good point to add is you're not part of a label or something like that. So
Right.
no one is, and you grew your audience organically, and during that time, no one was really waiting. Oh man, Project Mr. Is releasing an album, so you don't
I'm
have to
not
worry
sure
about
that's a
all
good
that.
thing, by the way. But
No,
still.
I mean, now you might have like a fan base that you can say that you have, but when you started releasing all of these singles from the first song and all that, there's no record label that you have to answer to. There's no audience that is like really like waiting for it. So you didn't mind putting
Exactly.
having that gap between songs.
Each song got its
And-
own, like, had played its part in getting in like new people, I guess.
Yeah, and there's a lot to digest in
Fresh
every song of yours also. So it's
I think that attitude is consistent with our entire persona as the kind of people we are, as the kind of music we are making together. We are not doing it for a particular expectation of, hey, this is kind of suiting this audience who will like this kind of stuff, and like our entire persona itself is not trying to be answerable to a particular type of audience, and that goes in not only with the kind of music that we write. We are not trying to satisfy one sort of listener, and it also ties into how disciplined we are with our timelines, because we don't care if people are. I mean, it's not like we don't care if people are expecting. People are not expecting, but that has never come into our this thing saying like, hey, why are they start thinking that we are not releasing enough. I mean, we're just doing it for the fun of it, because it's
I
genuinely
feel like
something that we want to explore.
that's an attitude I think most bands should have. At least a lot of the bands that I've come across. So I think that's a good attitude to have. Like, you don't have to really be in a hurry to put out something. Like, you should be, at the end of the day, you should be the happiest for with the product that you have put out as the artist that made that song or whatever product. And secondly, if you get that feedback from the fans or from the listeners saying that this is something like unique and different, then that is why.
He raised his hand for some reason.
No, I wanted to tell something.
So I just finished my point. So the point was, so if you're getting that feedback from the fans also saying that this is completely different, this is something completely unique, so then it makes it worthwhile for you also for putting in that time and spending that time to create that particular
Agree.
And another thing is, since we are 7 in number, plus you also as the initial listener base before we actually put it out on streaming platforms, and all of us have different influences in music. So it is like a mini representation of a lot of listeners, or at least a lot of sects of listeners. So when everyone takes a call on the music, I think that way some part of it is at least serving the indirect purpose. It's not like we want it to be people pleasing, but there is always a fact, there's always a factor of how well it might go with the listeners for it to succeed as such. So since we are so many in number, and it goes through a lot of filtering processes before it comes out as a product, I think that gives us a good advantage as to balance making music that pleases us versus making music that pleases everyone else. Even though we are a niche, but it's not like some very small niche where some 10 listeners are supported. So
and the reason that you have you don't worry about pleasing a particular sect of people is because you, as a band itself, your interests are quite varied.
Exactly.
So
varied,
it
plethora.
doesn't really plethora of genres that you guys listen to. Some which I not a big fan
JRE
of.
324.
So yeah, but still that gives you that you understand like you don't really worry about what
Yeah.
what people really think about waiting for that particular or if you're releasing one particular kind of
Yeah.
genre or whatever.
I mean, you can look at the album itself. You see the variety in all the songs, right? It kind of represents our influence.
So would you think so we just spoke about your jobs and all of that, so would you think having a job, a corporate job, is an advantage or disadvantage being in a band, especially in this country?
100% advantage. 100%.
Yeah.
Like, you are free to make your money with the corporate job, and that exactly gives us the freedom to have this attitude of saying, who cares what the listener kind of thinks or whatever. Like, we can genuinely make the music you want to because you're not relying on it for
That's not a
source of
primary
income.
source of income.
Yeah, absolutely not. So
So
I would, for all its disadvantages it might throw, I'm still in 100% support of doing both, especially for personally speaking, for the kind of musician that I am, the kind of skill level that I'm at, and this kind of interest I have in wanting to improve that skill level, very minimal. I would say a corporate job is very, very useful for.
And would you recommend this to anyone like planning to form a band or something?
Absolutely,
sort of thing?
absolutely. I would recommend. My personal view is not the do whatever you do 100% kind of a thing. No, just do music and this thing. Both you can parallelly do it. I think you're not a half bad example of being able to do it. So
yeah, and what if so all of you, like I mentioned, most of you guys like your jobs. Now I mentioned most. So most of you guys like your jobs. So what about the guys who are not interested in a normal job and want to do music full time? Like how can you justify that to them?
I mean, it comes to personal opinions and how much risk you want to take in your life, and also understanding at what level you are. Like, you should listen to a lot of music, watch a lot of musical content across the globe, not stay like a frog in the well, rather expose. Now we have all the tools. Expose yourself to a lot of content worldwide and see at what standard you are as a musician, and try to understand how much it is possible to actually make a living out of being a musician. So that is very important, I believe. I'm not talking about toot your own horn or something like that, but rather it's a very rational thing to do before actually taking the plunge into full-time music. That is one thing. And second thing, that's what. So you're talking about the case where people don't like their jobs. As such, I don't hate my job, but I think I'd rather be much happier doing different kinds of music, making different kinds of music, playing for a variety of artists or bands, or making my own musical content instead of working in the corporate sector. So that way, that's what it has to be a very calculated risk. Don't just stupidly jump into full-time music like YOLO or something like that. No, it doesn't make sense, at least rationally speaking. You might get lucky, but
so so you guys earn a certain amount from your jobs, and how do you think you manage that amount to maybe one thing is I think time is money, first thing. So one is spending quite a lot of time in like writing the songs itself, then spending your actual money in recording and mixing and all of those processes. So how do you plan that kind of stuff, and how do you plan your bifurcate your expenses and make sure that it's not going in the wrong hands and not being spent in the wrong way?
I think the first sort of decision that we took towards that direction was to have a central fund for the band. So it's like our idea was the band, or anyone's idea, right? If you treat the band as a business, it should be self-sustaining. right? And the first step towards that was saying, okay, let's start, saving up money for XYZ expenses that we know, or XYZ expenses that we don't know yet, right? And so that also allowed us to individually navigate our own expenses based on our own lives, right? Because our source was coming in from another direction, the corporate source. So yeah, that small it's a small decision, I think, that we took quite early on, helped a lot. I think anyone else, you guys want
Something-
Yeah,
something
just
that you
one,
said-
one thing to correct there.
Yeah.
The maybe for the tour, like there was the source was from corporate, but the source for the funds in the band has actually been all our winnings from competitions and
Right. Yeah.
the performances. That is what goes to the central bank
Yep.
bank account.
Yeah, I think that's what he was
And,
talking about as self-sustaining, right? All the wedding
Right.
gigs that you do,
Exactly.
the decision to not split money anymore after every gig.
Exactly.
That I think was a pivotal change, right?
Yeah, that was there. And we are happy, and I think we feel lucky that we have not yet gone blank with the band account, and have to rely on our personal accounts yet. Maybe on tour, of course, because it's a lot of expense compared to the band funds, but at least for producing music as such, I think
Always been
yeah,
band.
it was an amazing decision to put it into a central fund. You can see the figures itself in the bank balance, and then you feel comfortable having that much money to spend on production or producing the album itself. That came to a huge amount if you consider it as an expenditure by one person. Yeah, it sounds like a very big amount, but then we made it playing shows, play like 4 or 5 shows, you are able to make most of it. So yeah.
What would you suggest? You guys are lucky enough to be musicians of the caliber to do do others perform in other like weddings and all that, because you can't perform in weddings without knowing something. I'm not just talking about weddings, like any the classical shows that you do, and that is also part of your income, and that's what goes into your band fund again. So what would you suggest to bands who don't really have that varied sense
Yeah.
of
Honest-
musicality, and they can just play? So even a person like me, I don't play classical music or any other form of music other than metal. That's what I play now. I listen to a lot of varied stuff, and I work with a lot of stuff as an audio engineer, but I don't play that. And so for a musician, what would you suggest for someone who doesn't have that varied
Can I just talk about this? Like I got it immediately.
yeah.
So I honestly speaking, I don't think it's anything about your caliber. I mean, it's not as much about caliber as you're saying it, because what we are doing is Carnatic fusion, which is a little more digestible to a wider range of listeners compared to progressive metal or the kind of music that we make. But I think with respect to caliber, a lot of other musicians, full-time musicians, are making their money playing cover gigs. Right. There's personally, I don't have anything against cover gigs. It's just that I've been lucky not to have the need yet to be a part of a cover band and try to make money with it. But mostly in the future, that might come. And probably if we were not a Carnatic fusion band, we probably might have been playing a lot of cover gigs. In fact, we've played a lot of film songs by Ilayaraja, A.R. Rahman. We've played it. We've covered it in the Carnatic fusion concerts. So I mean, weddings literally ask for that. So more than caliber,
but just to clarify, when I said caliber, it meant that most of you guys are classically trained,
right?
and that is the
The
reason
ability
that
to
you
do
guys,
it,
so you have the ability to perform like various
Good on
kinds
that
of
route.
music. So that's what I meant by.
Oh, you meant by versatility.
Maybe it was the wrong word to use.
I
but
thought you meant like, they're classically trained, so they have that this thing.
No, classically trained, so that you are able to play those classical shows and all that.
Right.
And classical shows do, I mean, compared to a normal show that you do here, obviously it pays much more than that, and any corporate show for that matter.
Yeah.
So even the corporate bands that I work with, the pay with from those
Scale
bands
is different, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
but to play a corporate to be able to play those kind of songs, you need some kind of minimum level of
course.
musicianship.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and an
and
openness of the mind
openness of-
actually.
yeah, that also.
Tolerance.
Be ready to get low to get high.
Oh, okay.
The famous. Can I just chime in with one thing though?
Yeah.
Your original question of, let's say I'm a normal cover band. I just write normal progressive metal songs. It's very esoteric, cool stuff. But how do I make my general money? The only thing that I would say is, if you want to do something niche like that, you have to still spend time developing a skill that will pay you money. Take yourself as an example, Tejas. You are in a very niche. Your music tastes are
Industry.
extremely niche. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you enjoy recording a certain genre the most.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you'll get that genre all the time. You still do the average dubbing, scene, or karaoke. All that. You will
Not
have
just
to
that,
do it. Like,
but
a
again,
lot more
I have
things,
done.
right?
I do. I mean, if you look at my portfolio, is not just metal. All
I know,
the
I'm
time.
not saying
So,
metal. That's why I didn't use
Exactly.
the word metal. I said
Exactly.
genre, right? You enjoy doing a certain set of genres, but
I
then
enjoy. Yeah.
unless you develop a commercialable skill that will get you the money on an everyday basis, you have to be prepared to do that. And in that sense, I think we got very lucky in the sense that we didn't have to actively work towards developing a skill that needs commercialization. We just kind of had it and we winged it from there. And that's why I say we got lucky. But then there also, because of the way I look at it, honestly, like I wouldn't, I will speak only for myself, but as a self-taught guitarist, I didn't have to really do much. You had so much depth of like 15-16 years, these Carnatic guys, that they were able to translate and dumb it down for us so fast that we didn't have to do much. Because I'm saying, I think they're lifting most of the weight in the commercialization
in the commercial
genre.
side of it.
Yeah. But yeah, my point was that you will definitely have to spend time to work on a skill that you will not enjoy, but that will pay you the bills. Whether that's a corporate job that you're willing to funnel money into the band every month, spend like 2-3K, just keep funneling it in. That's a sacrifice you'll have to make. Or if you're able to market some other skill that to do something that you don't enjoy, you have to do it. And then obviously
Some kind of a side hustle.
side hustle that
whatever
pays the
you
bills. Yeah.
Whatever you would call it. Okay.
I feel like it's a general principle. Like, it just kind of ties back into the fact that we have a band fund only because we have jobs that help us give us our own separate sources of income. And hence the band fund is treated entirely as an investment.
Yeah.
And that's because we develop skills elsewhere that just allow us to, I mean, it's like paying your dues and doing what you have to do in order to do what you enjoy. So
I hope that like someone takes away something from at least this part of the thing, because I feel like a lot of bands make that mistake of not having like a common like account for these expenses, and they kind of divide the whatever
As
they
it
get
comes,
from
they
shows.
split it.
They split it between members, or if they hire an engineer. That I don't think that's a right way to do it. Whatever they get out of a show, put into like handle your expenses first, and then put the rest in a fund, because you're not going to do much with a few thousand. So
Yeah, you're gonna blow it off that weekend and then it's gone.
Yeah.
But if it went to the band account, then you
yeah, one trip to a pub would just-
Annihilate.
Keep it as what comes around goes around, you know. And psychologically also, when you divide it amongst the members,
Yeah.
and then when you're supposed to spend for production, psychologically also speaking, there is some money that you are going to be spending from your pocket. And then you think about, oh shit, I'm spending this much. Oh, okay. And versus having a band fund, the money came there, it went from there to the producer. Or you.
So say an average when you divide your pay from a show, say average per member might get like, I'm just averaging like say 3 to 5K. I'm just giving an amount.
Yeah.
So 3 to 5K per member. Okay.
Mm.
An average amount. So I think a band should think of it as investing in like a how we have these SIP kind of investments. Just think of it like this is going there, because there's not much you can do with that amount anyway by yourself. 3K will just go the next day. So I think you should think of it as an investment and it's going there, and then we use it at a later point of time. And even if you put it in an account, I feel like that is still useful. So if you save up enough money over time, you can at least gain some interest from that. Even though it's not
Very
like
true, very true.
you're not getting, I mean, the interest amount might not be much, but still it's another account. It's a bulk amount, and that has interest, that will
Absolutely.
be interesting.
Every once a year, our treasurer Shivraj comes and says, "Bantama, interest bant no." That's so there is. It's very see on the chat, but yeah, it's a reasonable amount to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if it's like trying to compare the 3 to 5K that you get versus the ability to produce like a 10-minute song and get it produced by the best sound engineer in Bangalore.
Tejas, you are the best 11 gauge.
Yeah, right. But
Move
I
on to
mean,
the next question.
but yeah, see what that gets you, I guess.
Yeah. So okay. So I think we covered all the job related kind of things. So so I just want to talk about the different skills that you would require, not just in terms of musicianship, but other than that, like in terms of songwriting. So there are a few skills that I feel that a lot of artists don't spend enough time learning, like recording your own music at home, recording demos. If it's vocals, I mean, vocals, it's not a big deal to record your own vocals, at least as a demo for your upcoming song or for any project. So that's one. And then record, like at least having a basic knowledge of audio. You don't have to know, very in-depth stuff, because people like me are there and you can hire me. But yeah, still, I think you'll need to I think a basic knowledge of those skills are required, and I think without that you become very helpless, I feel. And I've seen that happening with bands also. They're literally helpless without having those skills, and they depend on me fully. But I'm not hired to do all of these other stuff. I'm hired to do a particular set of jobs, and I'm not running a charity here. So yeah, so you pay me for the job I'm hired for. The other stuff, I think it's not that difficult to learn if you spend enough time on it. So what would you say are the necessary skills that you picked up over time, and that made you work more efficiently since you started? Okay, well, just
I think Shanky can speak first. He's the most recent entree into the
Yeah.
world of production.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I'm possibly like the newest adopter of this new tech. But I mean, it just made me okay. I would say two ways to look at it. One, it opened up the doors to what the band was already doing, right? So I could easily step up and take up like things like compositional duty on the spot, right? Like and that really helped with, say, a song like Kana Kana, which to me was done very quickly compared to most of our other songs. That's one side of it. Like to close up the deficit, right? You need these certain skills. And two, to open the doors up to something that you don't really imagine in your head in terms of sound, right? Like, for example, I mean, I think Sumant will talk about it much better, like drum programming, and Shivraj, learning how to work with various instruments. So songs like, or parts from songs like Cynic, Nivasa would just straight up be impossible without this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if you talk about the list of skills involved itself, like broadly, it's being able to, exactly what you covered, being able to record yourself, being able to translate ideas in your head beyond the instrument that you play alone. Like if I have a riff idea, it's not enough if I just put the riff out, double track it and send it. If I'm able to program a little bit of drums, at least that can potentially become a song, because I translated some basic audio production there. I did something there, and it translates beyond audio also. Like if you see the pace at which Shivraj is a great example inside the band for how fast this kind of skills he picked up. And it's not like you need to like nail it. Just dabble, just muck around in it, try. We all started at Audacity. At least I started in Audacity doing the absolute basic free stuff. There's a lot of good tech nowadays. And just mess around. Like Shivraj, if you take an example, he'll spend the whole night learning some particular LUT, how to apply in a Premiere Pro, this thing, and whatever. It may take like 20 hours more than a professional might do it, but that gave him the flexibility to
And even
immediately
if it's not
translate.
done perfectly, he can still give an idea to someone.
Exactly.
He can show
Exactly.
that as an idea to someone. Okay, can you do this?
Exactly.
Instead of someone else starting it from scratch
That's literally
and trying to figure it
for
out.
Kana Kana with Samuel.
Yeah. You want to elaborate, Shuraj?
Yeah, so I think there was a difference in the kind of direction, artistic direction or creative direction that Samuel Adams, who's by the way the DOP for our video for Kana Kana. Yeah, so he had gone in a different creative direction, and we were able to quickly express what we wanted compared to an abstract set of phrases saying, bro, we want this effects, bro, I'm cool, bro, I have this. But instead, the basic knowledge that I had of certain effects that you can apply, certain transitions that you can do, filters that you can apply on the video on Premiere Pro. So I was able to quickly make a rough draft and send it to him. So he got more into alignment with our creative vision for the video for Kana Kana. So that's a small example of how helpful it is to have a certain set of skills apart from the basic forte that you have.
Yeah, and even with me, you have sent me multiple files.
It can get
Files.
irritating for you, I guess.
Yeah, but what I mean, compared to someone who don't have any idea about what to do, I would take this any day. But so in that way, you have that okay, this is what I want, and you're showing me at least a rough idea of this is the thing, and can you achieve this now? And that gives me like a really nice blueprint to start with, and also like finish that part and do it maybe in a way that is a lot more better sounding than your initial demo. So that kind of thing. And
I wanted to speak a little more about the skills as such.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it's only Project Mishram that gave me the initiative to, or rather like a case of necessity is the mother of invention kind of a thing. It gave the initiative to learn a lot of basic production skills, and which have, in fact, right now, I want to become a music producer and arranger, apart from, because I sing, I play mridangam, I play around with music production itself, arrangements. I think I found the right kind of calling only after like Mishram happened, because until then it was just beatboxing as a showcase thing, because it's a niche thing, and maybe a little bit of singing, but that was pretty much it. But now there is a concrete direction that I want to go in, which in fact actually fueled my desire to get into Berklee College of Music, or pursue music, full-time music as a direction. It is all because of Project Mishram and the skills that I picked up, like of course basic recording. Like I literally had I had the equipment since I was like maybe 15 years or old or something. My dad, he's very tech savvy in the music, musical instruments. I had the equipment, but I only learned to use it after Mishram happened. Like, so recording vocals, basic EQ, basic. I'm not great at it, but at least to have something that is clearly audible, with clearly audible elements. Then electronic music production, lot of videos I watched. Dubstep we've used in Loco Coco. Then I think you and I spoke about what are the parallel compression or something. Like when the kick hits, the rest of the song has to dip in volume.
Sidechain.
Just to sidechain compression. So lot of new things. It all came as an initiative from writing in Project Mishram. So those extra skills, they give you like an extra pair of hands or wings or whatever you call it, to actually explore a lot of other areas in music itself, apart from what you're already great at. So, and it's very necessary in today's world where you're all far apart, but you need to make your own productions, you need to put out your own content, can't keep relying on producers all the time, right? At least for the small things.
That is one thing. You can't I mean, if you're willing to pay the producer, then cool, then that's fine. But if you're not willing to pay, not willing to learn, not willing to then it becomes a problem. So that's when, so in this case, so imagine if you guys had to rely on me to do all of this, all of the extra stuff, how much extra would you have ended up spending?
You tell,
Oh.
budget is your hands.
I
Yeah,
mean,
but spend is one
but
thing.
you have an, like a average amount, no, in head. Like, just if you can calculate, then you know how much
We
it
are
would be a
friends,
lot.
you said, no, da? Do it for free, please. Mix mastering charges will give. This and all you do. For the love of our music, you do.
That's, the amount of stuff you do is way too much work. So, so anyway, so like, I think it would be a lot more tedious.
Suman,
And,
ballpark figure, da? How much do you think
How much do you think? What?
we would be, like, in percentage of how much we're paying
Per
right now
song,
for
10K.
books and music? Don't give numbers, da.
Okay, as a percentage of
Percentage.
totally how much we'd pay, I think production is like 100% of. It's as much effort
Content.
as
Double.
mix master, dude. Yeah, it's so you just end up paying double of what you'd
Yeah.
usually pay for the mix alone. Because
Yeah. So,
and I think Shanky was going to go to that point. It not only
Ah.
gives you the money that you save, but the creative freedom that you get by being able to do it yourself. And like, imagine you have to explain to a producer saying, "I want strings that go pep, pop, 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 pep," versus you just being able to do it. Like, it's just so much faster and so much creative.
also, you explore your own what you can do yourself in terms of playing
Yeah.
and all of that. So imagine you're recording a solo, and you record yourself. So by recording yourself, you know, man, this part, there's some noise coming in. So how do I correct that? And you keep recording it again, and then that's an important skill to have. Recording vocals also, I think that's where, like, you can hear yourself and you can correct your vocal techniques and all of that, depending on how you're hearing your own vocals and how you're recording it. So I think all of these are like really important skills to have.
It
And
is
like I said,
become the trend right now. Like, everyone around me I've seen, maybe bathroom singers in the office, or be it people who have been singing in the film industry, and until now they've just hop into a studio, get the person over there to record them and ask them to do this and that. But now all those singers, all those solo artists, as you can see on social media, they've got their own interfaces. They've started learning to record themselves, and it's that easy. It's if so many people are doing it, it can't be that complex, like, logically speaking. So it's time to hop on that train and start learning those skills and improving yourself.
and the worst part is the willingness. Some people are just adamant that they don't want to learn.
Yeah, that's bullshit in this age. I think because like something like our album wouldn't have happened if someone tech agnostic wouldn't have refused to learn. Like even Sri Shankar came on board late, but he did come on board entirely. All of Miso's guitars was recorded. He recorded himself, and it turned out fine, right? So exactly why I think it's you hop on that train now. There's no.
In
point.
fact, any edits. I mean, there are certain effects on the guitars that I didn't have to do myself because it was already given. So a lot of my job as a mix engineer also becomes a lot more easier, and I don't have to. And I was just telling someone the other day, one of the classes. So I was just telling them that when your mixing process starts become analytical, then it stops becoming mixing, because mixing is supposed to be a creative process. So it's not so when you it's like just, I mean, the normal cliche thing of like comparing it to like painting or whatever. Like you're once you start that process, for me it's like autopilot almost. When I start mixing, I'm on autopilot, and then when I reach a place where I have to think about some edits or there's some noise or something, then that entire like process just comes to a halt.
The flow goes away.
The flow goes, and then I have to like kind of kind of calibrate myself, and that again is a waste of time. Not just for me, for if I'm working with the time sensitive thing, then all of these things like will deter that process, and which is not ideal.
Isn't that a beautiful feeling when you're on that autopilot mode? It's just and your music. It's just a beautiful feeling.
I was that's what I just this is what I was telling, because when you're in that autopilot mode and after it's over, I have no idea what I did in that. Like
Yeah.
it's almost like you're on a high. You're just like doing something, and then like after it's over, I have no idea which plugin I used, how much time passed. First of all, which plugin I used, but I just know that. But at the end, I know that I've reached this stage of the mix, and now I have to. Sometimes it might be bad. I have to restart it. That's a
A
whole.
wonderful saying. That can you just say it again?
I forgot what I said. That is
That
again autopilot.
analytical thing. No. The
when-
analytical when
yeah,
things get
when mixing becomes analytical, it's not mixing anymore. So, and
applies to a lot of other.
Yeah, no, it's a psychological concept itself. What you guys are discussing is called the state of flow, and there's a lot of research itself that's been done into. Yeah. No, 100%.
So all of these. So just to bring all of those points back. So all of these skills help. We all help each other by learning all of this. So the more the musicians take care of learning skills on their own, the better songs you make, the faster you work, and the better you can even transfer that vision onto someone else's mind.
Yeah. Tejas has also learned Carnatic music, guys. He can sing crazy gamaks.
But I think like on that topic, Ram was one of like the first adopters. Like I'm just going to quickly plug Ram's Green Day cover videos.
Please don't.
What?
When? What?
Ram is a prolific YouTuber, by the way.
Oh.
Guys, go check out Ram Srinivas, the same name
Don't.
based videos. He has collaborated with people across the world before collaboration was even a thing. Okay. Before it was like he's got covers of Megadeth, Iron Maiden and stuff that's like 14,000-15,000 views back when YouTube was a child. Not the
I
paid
think I've seen
Bangladeshi
one of
farm
them.
that it
I
is
think,
today. No, it was amazing.
No. So I remember seeing one of them recently. Somewhere.
Wow.
Someone showed
Ram
me.
is silent prolific. You don't know. Just
Do you notice he's floating up a little bit in his screen actually by 2 inches?
No, I don't think Ram's the
I'm
kind
not.
of person who will float.
Don't spoil it, Ram. Wait.
No.
But yeah,
I implore you not to watch those. But I must say, it was very, very helpful for. It's just, I mean, as Suman said, it's like it's going to be in a few years' time. If you look at how the state of modern musicians is going to be, it's going to be a skill that you absolutely must need to know. It's going to be like having to restring your guitar, although I cannot restring my bass, but still.
bass is okay. Once in 5 years.
It's going to be elementary almost to know how to record yourself on Reaper and just know your way around a DAW in general. It's like that. We're reaching like the end of that curve, aren't we? So
Yeah, that's what I said.
it's important to have down at this very moment now. So
and
yeah.
hopefully someday we won't need a mix and mastering.
That's
No,
not a
I am completely against this sentiment. He's just trying to put people like you out of work. So
Noda, Tejas. Where else will we spend our production money? You will
correct.
Like why band fund and all that if you're not going to spend it anywhere, right?
Come on, if you had more money, as if you would have come to me.
Honestly,
No, even talking of DIY, I was on the call where Shivaraj was nearly reduced to tears trying to compile the Loco Coco tracks.
oh shit! And even Cynic Machine, dude,
He was
horrible.
legitimately having a bad time compiling
That
the
saying comes there only. One after writing when you have to send it to Tejas, no.
Yeah.
Oh god.
And I can only imagine the barrage of shit that hit him, like fucking 150 tracks. How do you start organizing? I mean, 150 is very low. I think I don't even remember how many tracks. Like
I
6
never count
folders
because
and
if I know
2
the count,
parts.
then
6 folders and 6 folders. Each folder would have like fucking 15 tracks. Guitar left, guitar right, guitar no, and guitar. It is just painful to watch.
And honest tip to people who approach mix engineers like Tejas, don't be like Pranav, our violinist Vidwan Pranav Swarup, who after the final mix and master of Cynic Machine gave a list of 14 points to be made as edits in the song, not even mix points or master points, edits in the song, the actual stems.
Like note is wrong,
Like
melody.
I'm guessing this wasn't sent to me, no?
No,
good.
shot. No.
You would have heard it from me.
And even basic shit like naming. I'm sure if you guys follow Tejas on many platforms, it sounds like rants, but those are genuinely, when
Yeah.
you're on the other side of it, receiving those raw files, if it's not well named and basic hygiene taken care of, it's not
That-
possible to work so easily. I mean,
That
it's
is
taken for
one-
granted, but yeah.
That is one huge improvement I saw in you guys when with this album. At least I knew that folder contained drums and not something else. I will open some folder and there'll be some tun shit and all in there.
Hey, it's
That is
onomatopoeia.
efforts.
Da. It's easy to identify compared to arpeggios and the.
Correct. He's right. That would be the
No,
new
no.
wave. I used to
If
see
you
this.
if it's in
They're
a
ahead
synth
of the
folder
curve.
and then you write tuntun, then it's expected. There's a tuntun. There can be a tuntun in a synth, but drums tuntun. What? How?
No, that is the simple.
Oh. So yeah, this is what I want to talk about. Like the worst thing is the unwillingness to learn. That is what I just cannot take. The unwillingness to learn, and when you spoon feed it to people and they're still unwilling to accept it, then that's a problem and you need to fix that. And then you can't complain that this could have been better and all that. No, you didn't want to do anything, so that's not my problem anyway.
Fair enough.
Cool. So I think that, I mean, we covered a lot of things that musicians need to do and are not doing. So let's like what happened?
No, Shivraj is playing around with this.
Let's close this with I think one of the most I think one of the best experience we all had as just friends and a band itself, the international tour. So how did you guys manage that? How did you start planning that, first of all, and then how did you find the whole experience? And also what did you find different in terms of when you played there and when you play over here? What are the differences that you came across?
Ram, go for it. Da. He has not spoken, Papa, for like.
You just spoke.
So the Ram take.
No, sorry, a plane just passed through here. I didn't get any of what you said. Could you just say that again?
Are you staying in some like sky?
I stay next to HAL, dude. So this keeps happening. Yeah, that's why I have to keep staying on mute as well.
Reason, I'm going to give that my next meeting.
Sorry, I got just like a plane went.
It happens. It keeps happening.
I believe you, but it's just such a cool
So,
excuse.
could you,
So the elephant was blowing its
Question.
trumpet again. Dude.
Hey,
This is-
question. I'll Gmax
Sorry,
it. Da, basically.
yeah.
No,
Just
okay.
UK tour.
Huh?
UK tour. How was it different for you compared to other bands? No. Compared to playing in UK compared to playing in India.
Dude, that was not the only question.
I
The
see.
question was like, how did you go about getting the tour? How
Yeah.
did you think
Ah.
about it? Get
Yeah,
shows
that.
and like then talk about the experience.
That. Overall UK tour basically.
Just UK
it
tour
was-
hoge matada.
Yeah, but it kind of subverted our idea of what a tour would be like, because it was mostly a DIY tour, wasn't it? Because but
Yeah. No.
but yeah, it was very different for that reason, because we were organizing things in a very take them as they are kind of manner, because we organized a few homestays at various cities, and then we kind of figure out things on the fly, how we'd go from one place to the other. It's not like we did anything fancy, like it's not like we had a tour van or anything. So
stayed in the Four Seasons.
yeah, exactly. So in terms of the day-to-day experience, it was very different from what the idea out there is like about a tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in terms of in terms of audience, it was very interesting. I mean, I'll let the other guys talk about the kind of audience and everything, but we saw a lot of different kinds of people at a bunch of festivals. I mean, we went to a couple of festivals, but then apart from that, all the different venues that we played at, the venues were all very different from one another. So we ended up catching like a very interesting cross section of people that listen to music as well. So yeah,
Say that again.
yeah, as
Very
you know.
interesting cross.
Not a cult, guys.
And,
Really not a cult.
Yeah, so
Not
I'll let someone else talk more about the kind of audience.
Shivaraj, I think you should talk about the whole process
The
of
setup
getting
to
the tour
setup.
itself.
That's-
Yeah, like
that's what I wanna
Simon
get into.
and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
your
that's
Panopol
true.
video, and then how did you approach Kannada Sangha? All those.
So basically, I want this part of the conversation to be useful for someone who is thinking of doing an international. So how did you approach that from the beginning stages?
First things first, we were able to even imagine of having an international tour because we had our our corporate jobs that we were working in, and
Wow, what a full circle.
yeah, exactly. I think first thing is we as a band should recognize that privilege that we've had, which links to the very education that we had, and it's important to give back to society later. I mean, jokes
talking
apart,
about
seriously
the same
speaking, no, I'm getting there. So it's a privilege that we had, that we were even able to imagine of an international tour before actually completing a tour in our own country. But what happened so happened. It's not like it's unfair or something that, oh, okay, because of that we were able to tour. It happened. We were lucky. We are thankful for that. And coming to the very process of getting the international tour, it wasn't a case of where you have everything given to you on a golden spoon. There was a lot of hard work, a lot of rejections that we faced before even getting the few shows that we played there. First things first was how it started is that Simon, the guy, the curator of UK Tech Fest, he spoke to me regarding a Konakol masterclass. And then I got to know about UK Tech Fest, and I read up about them and saw their after movies. And then I realized,
And
okay,
he
we are
found you
making-
because of your Facebook, right? So it's putting
social
up
media.
stuff online
Very
in a public
important,
pages.
Yes.
Will get
Very true, very true.
I have another
so
episode with digital marketing also coming up. So
okay.
all that.
Okay. So, getting back to the point. Yeah. So it started there. And then I sent him Mishram's content saying we literally do this mixed with Konakol. So how about I get the band there? And he heard it and is flabbergasted the right word? No, that's
Who was flabbergasted?
too much GR. Sorry. No, he was very elated listening to the music. And he was astounded that, oh, this kind of
Is elated another word for disgusted?
no, astounded is good.
He's
Astounded is good, no?
He and Mike Malian of Monuments, guys, both of them were
Yeah,
Disgusted.
not astounded. That okay, there's a band that astounded that there's a
Astounded.
band that fuses this, and
Yeah.
it was like nothing they'd ever heard before, and that's where all of the process started. Then we realized, okay, we had the festival. Now what? Okay, we're traveling all the way, and it can't be just for 3-4 days of playing the festival. And then came the advantage of being Indians.
Yes.
Because in every place in the world, you have almost every place in the world, you have some or the other Indian community who tend to be very helpful to Indians playing Indian music there.
Yeah.
Right. So that way, I approached completely cold calls. I approached a lot of these Kannada Sanghas. So to be more specific, is Kannada Sangha
Association.
Yeah, Kannada Association. And in this case, as much as I've been belting Pranav, I think Pranav had been very, very instrumental in getting us quite a few gigs apart from what work I had done. In fact, more than what I had done. So Pranav was able to get us in touch with Mr. Jay from Sama Arts, which is actually a very huge Indian arts organization in the UK, because they work with legends of Hindustani music, like I'm not able to remember. I think Pandit Ravi Shankar he's worked with. Then he's worked with I think Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan sir or something. Yeah. So like huge legends, and the same person was able to. Pranav got us in touch with him, and we got a few gigs from Mr. Jay from Sama Arts. So that was there. And then the other thing was, from these Indian associations or Kannada associations, there were a lot of helpful families that gave us accommodation, right? And it's not a simple thing. There's 7-8 members that had gone there, including you, Tejas. So 8 members, you're providing accommodation. If we have friends over at home, our parents will be thinking twice. Okay, they're here. What about our privacy? Okay, you have to cook for these many. So then imagine 8 people in one house. And that way, so many families were hosting us. We didn't have to pay for accommodation at all. So yeah, but of course it wasn't a smooth ride. Some places we had accommodation where it wasn't that comfortable, but I don't know what the phrase is. Choosers or something. Choosers.
Beggars can't be
Beggars
choosers.
can't be
Beggars
choosers.
can't be choosers, literally.
Happy.
Yeah. So yeah, and I'm happy that all of us were flexible with the kind of accommodation that we had. No one was that cranky about having an accommodation which was not like your standard hotel suite, or where there are a certain set of amenities that a normal band that is touring might expect. So so we had a very unique experience that way. Performed for a plethora of crowds. Indian
I've been
association,
waiting to use that word somewhere.
mix of Indian and foreign crowds. And then TechFest, of course. TechFest was 4 best days of my life. I think the others can also confirm. Like, you have a listener base which is completely new. They've not heard of you. And we were able to, impress like a lot of them. The feeling when they came and spoke to us saying, we've never heard this kind of fusion. We really loved it. I think we were literally on cloud 9.
Yeah.
0.5.
I mean, it's such a cool feeling. You're just walking by on the lawns of some, unused airplane hangar, and people are like, you guys are from Mishramancha. And I'm like, what? People recognize us, like, because you're from a different country, you're the only one from that country there, and it's an amazing. I just want to shout out to Shashank Akela. Also, I think the importance of building
He's
your
not going to
network.
watch this.
I know it's fine, maybe not. If you do, shout out Shashank. But all I want to say is like Tejas keeps harping us on this to build your network as much as possible in the local scene that you are. At least we had some sort of a connection with him, and he was able to happen to be in the UK. He was in the music field, and he helped us with accommodation. He got us a gig. He got
us the first gig.
The first gig, exactly, right? And he did the poster also, I think. So it was just incredible to be able to work with whatever connections we had, and the rest was just pure cold calling. And like, I mean, Shivraj pretty much summed it up perfectly. There was just so much work that Pranav and he did when it came to getting these gigs together. It was just amazing.
So, to conclude, we can say the international tour wasn't a walk in the beach.
No.
You're the host, be serious. What is this?
But from my first memory of like UK is that first beer that I had. Oh my God.
Oh, really? I was thinking the video that Anni shot, fields barta ide noda field.
Beer, what is that, Tejas? Sorry, we're teetotalers.
Yeah, I know. I was the only one drinking throughout the, like, I'm elder to all of you guys. I should be a better role model.
just
I was doing Sandhya Vandana in UK.
Yeah. That's what.
Yeah,
that's
but,
what I had the beer. You guys were, having your green juices and all of that. Yeah. So
yeah, but one thing I wanted to call out was that, like, at least with the audience and especially at TechFest, I think all of us were so awed by this. They have this very characteristic culture of showing support very vocally and very, it's very explicit. Right, and that's something. Yeah, for example, being eager to buy your merch, right? Some way to support you because they're very explicit about that support. And after being there, it sort of like drives into me how important that is, because we were at the receiving end of such, like, sort of. It felt like unconditional love, as corny as that sounds. Right?
No, absolutely.
But I feel like it's very important for us to give that back.
going
India,
to a band that you genuinely like and respect, and telling them that you
and
like,
and
saying it. It might seem it's not an ego game here. If you think you're bigger than someone, it is something wrong with you. So like, get over that. If you want, if it genuinely makes however big that artist is or however small that artist is, it makes a difference in that person's life, and it drives them to
absolutely
do what they love. And this is, and especially for like people like you, it is not a full-time thing. And when even if one person comes and tells any of you guys that this is your music made a difference, it drives you to do more.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is a huge thing. It's not something to be it's not something that just is put under the carpet. This guy said something,
Yep.
it's fine. It makes a huge difference to whoever it is, man.
I think as like maybe it's a product of our upbringing or just as being Indians. I feel like sometimes we need to grow that culture of really raising up the guy who went on stage and did what he had to do, right? Like,
Yeah.
at least for someone like me, it's like
Hype them up, show the
Yeah,
support.
exactly.
It's fine. You're not on stage with them. Like, I think Shanky said it very well. Expressing love explicitly is something that I would definitely take away from.
Yeah, exactly. It was one of my biggest takeaways from that tour, and like it's something that I try to do now. Like if I watch a band play, very explicitly go and tell them, because for me it was not a question of ego, but I was not a person like, what difference is it going to make to their day, dude. I mean, I enjoyed it, but cool. I mean, time book kept, but
and I think the last thing I would like to just touch upon is the importance of what do you think is the importance of having a team for your album cycle or whatever, in terms of, and what did you learn from your previous release, your album release? What was different? And
it was massive. Like, I think working with Sohail and Rahul, that's Sohail Nawaz Khan, by the way. His alias online is the Nautilus Shell. So you should follow him on Instagram and literally every platform. But yeah, we didn't really do things in an organized manner when we were releasing singles or just any other sort of music. I mean, we did try to do what we could, but in terms of churning out regular content, we definitely needed to work with someone. So being with Sohail for all the creatives, and with Rahul for all the advertising and publicity, it was very useful because we managed to get a lot of. I think when you're releasing anything, it's important to get eyes on just around your band in general before putting out your content, and they did an incredible job with advising us on what to do, and with Sohail obviously creating the creatives. So,
and as a band and as an expense, I think initially you guys would have felt okay, this might be an unnecessary expense.
Extra.
Should we do it? Should we not do it? So was it worth that the effort and the expense that you had?
Yeah, I'd say absolutely. I mean, like, if you're not good at something, if you're not a professional at something, it's 100% worth giving the right respect and money associated with allowing that person to do their job well. I think we went through this as a natural curve, even with you, Tejas. The concept of paying someone to jam was alien to us. And then we started going to jam rooms only. And then the concept of paying someone to mix was alien to us. And then we started paying someone to mix. And exactly that same cycle we went through with creatives and digital media. And the whole concept of the team that you described, I'd say we definitely felt like, oh man, this is a lot of money. And then once you did it, you're like, why was I even thinking otherwise? Because you see the quality of content and the output that you get from someone who's doing it professionally, even though you feel like it costs a lot, it's absolutely worth it because they're putting all their professional expertise into it. And yeah, I would say we all agree with that almost unanimously.
The reason for this question was to kind of give others an idea of firstly the importance of a team, and secondly the idea of marketing. And the idea of marketing seems like a very unnecessary expense for most bands, but a post on Facebook is not marketing. So I feel like everyone should understand that post on Facebook and a post on Instagram is not the way you market. So and after putting in so much effort in making an album or any product for that matter, if you don't market it the right way and the right people don't see that product, then the time you spent and the effort you made into creating that product is basically so yeah. I think that's
for our audio
much.
listeners, he showed the symbol 0.
Oh, was it not?
What?
No, like,
Repeat.
If someone is listening on Spotify,
On
they'll say,
audio,
what did
yeah.
he say there? I mean, like, I'm sorry, I didn't follow pages there.
Zilch.
Yeah, and very much so in today's world, actually. I
Today's
think
world,
a few years back, I post on Facebook and post on Instagram. Maybe that would have been very, very helpful then, because the algorithm wasn't catering to such a competitive world on social media. People are just bringing out their content there. But now everyone wants attention, everyone on the planet. So now I think it's more evident than ever that you need to spend on marketing.
Catch people's attention.
Yeah, it's not as easy as it was before. So
Yeah, I mean, I would
I
go so
think
far as to say it's like the difference between taking a shot in the dark and like having a very educated basis for a guess, right? Like I would still call it a guess because it is always a probability. But yeah, it's the difference between we have some money, let's put it in and see what happens versus this is what we're aiming for. This is what I think we need to do. Let's do it.
Yeah,
It's just
is
that.
equivalent in the audio world is the equivalent of knowing what that knob does and just turning the knob,
Randomly turning it.
randomly turning. So same thing. So yeah, so I think spoke about everything that I want to speak about with you guys as a band, and I hope that the 1.5 people that see this
I will make sure my mom, my dad, and my brother all three see from three separate
I'm
ways.
genuinely
Yeah,
worried about those guys who are listening on Spotify with just audios. Sudden moments of ASMR will come. They're like, oh shit.
No, it wasn't actually so bad.
yeah, it wasn't.
It was pretty good.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I love it. Yeah.
Okay, so thanks guys for taking the time to do this, and I hope someone finds this useful. And if go listen to their album Meso, just released even how long back did it release?
26th
Month?
February 2021.
26, yeah.
Yes.
So go listen to it. A lot of stuff, a lot of varied influences. So if you don't have to necessarily be a metal fan or whatever, just listen to it and it'll be worth your while. So
This
go
is
listen
not
to their
a metal
album.
song.
Listen to this podcast. Listen to this podcast as a whole. Lot of information sprinkled in. So I hope everyone finds it useful. So thank you guys
And subscribe, like, share Tejas Nair 11 gauge recordings.
Thank
If
you.
you have any
बहुत-
mixing, mastering, production needs, that's
हमने
the only
दो
place to
दिन
go in
से-
Bangalore.
Thank you. I will Google
Yeah.
pay you 15 rupees.
हमने 2 दिन से बहुत हार्ड वर्क किया है. आई होप करता हूँ कि आप लाइक शेयर और सब्सक्राइब तो करेंगे प्लीज.
Facebook Reels. Yeah.
चलिए end करते हैं.
No, but genuinely, guys, yeah, Tejas is really great at what he does. He's not giving us any money for doing this promotion, but genuinely heartfelt. What is that word?
Respect, admiration.
Yeah, let's say that. Patronizing. Is that a good word?
It's exactly not
That's bad.
That's exactly not.
Okay, heartfelt admiration for Tejas. Mixing, mastering, of course, he's been doing this for a long time, but now he's coming up with a lot of content, be it his comedy or his cooking videos, or now these pod/wadcasts. So give him a lot of support, guys, because this is genuinely good content. We are featured. So please give it a lot of support. And he's got, I think he's got a bunch of amazing guests on this show later.
lined up.
Tejas?
Yep.
Lined up?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, he has confirmed. So looking forward.
Yes. Thank you so much. And I will see you guys soon. Bye bye.